I'm the board game captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be previewing and talking about and showing you how to play Slip Strike. So Slip Strike is the new game coming to Kickstarter from Junk Spirit Games
It has someone's name.
and designed by David Gerard. Now David Gerard is the main designer of this game and also I believe the owner of Junk Spirit Games. I think he also does basically all the artwork usually for the games too. So I would hazard a guess that he's done the art on this as well. So now we don't have all final components. The cards I understand are final, but there's going to be apparently a nice box with a magnetic closure. You know me and magnetic closures. I do love magnetic closure boxes. I get a weird joy out of it. And then they've got these cool little meeples with ties, which is freaking hilarious. I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well. I'm going to show it up here. Yeah, I think you can make that on the camera. They have a little tie imprint, and I love this because you're supposed to be like assassins and spies in this, from like a sci-fi future world. So I'm going to show you some of the cards here, and we're going to talk about the rules and such. So the rule book, which also should be mostly final, though may not be printed the same way, but the rules themselves should be final. Shows that how you do the setup, it shows gameplay, and it has a couple little diagrams. It's fairly short, though. It's really only 4 pages, and the 4th page is optional rules for a 4-player game, which you would need 2 editions of Slip Strike to do. So this is a very light, very quick and easy to learn game. The rules are very well done, and actually, I would say I would be fine with these being final. These are very easy to teach you how to play, very quick to learn. So now the locations, which I'm not going to show real close up here, because in the final version they're going to be cardboard tiles. So right now they're in our preview version they are cards, so I'm not going to bother showing those all close. But the cards are quite nice. They have an interesting kind of monochrome feel to them.
It's blue. There you got blue. That's not monochrome.
But blue's the only color other than black and white. That's
Yeah.
what I was kind of meaning. I mean, it's like I don't know how to call it.
Well, they themed them.
Yes.
They themed everything well because the meeples are black and blue, and
Yeah.
the rule book is themed the same way.
Yeah, it's all the colors that they have chosen, and they've got these. They're kind of like line drawings. The shading is only handled with different shades of blue, but the black and white is
like almost like blueprints.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's got a cool style to it. The artwork is quite good.
It's got like in the background, it's got like
circuitry,
computer circuits.
Yeah, and that you can see that around there in the back. So these, you have teleports to different locations. The weapons are similarly done. Again, these kind of like line drawings, which I think is kind of interesting. It does feel thematic, like you said. It's got a very thematic feel, and I also liked it because this is supposed to be in a dystopian future. Everything looks super run down. Like the boardwalk, that if you look close, the Ferris wheel is all busted. It's missing parts. So it's like everything is real run down and dystopian. So I was showing you some of the black players' pieces. Now some of the blue players, they have blue borders instead of black borders, but are basically the same. And that's basically what you have in the game. It's mostly a card game. So we're going to head over to the table, and we're going to run you through a few turns to give you a good feel for the game. And then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels. And we're going to tell you who we think should back this Kickstarter. Okay, so here we are, set up to play a game of Slip Strike. Now we have the locations set out on the table. You randomly shuffle the locations and then place them out. I have it on good authority that in the final version, these are going to be nice thick cardboard chits, or tiles rather than being cards like they are here. You give each other your 10 cards for your moves based on your color, and everyone gets dealt a random asset card, which is a special move that until used, your opponent will not know exactly which you have. Then the final bit of setup is we're each going to secretly play one of our teleport cards face down to decide where we're starting. And we're going to reveal them simultaneously. So I'm starting in the boardwalk.
Shipyard.
Okay. And we place our little meeples on those spots. Then we take our teleport card back and we're ready to go. So for the first turn and every turn thereafter, we're going to choose 2 cards in order to be able to play them. And then we are going to flip them over in order to see what we have done. So I have chosen my 2 cards and I've placed them down here. Okay, so we're both ready. So we're going to flip up our first action card. Now, movements happen before anything else. So I have a right move, which means I have to move counterclockwise around the area. So I move to the plant. And then, Lynn, what did you play there?
I have my special asset card, strike same location and one location to your right.
So I luckily moved just out of that area. So now we have done both those actions. Nothing happened for either one of them. Mine is a cooldown. We put our cards to the side once we have used them. And then we flip over our second one. And Lynn has moved right, so she moves first. And then I have the sniper rifle, which strikes 2 locations away, which now Lynn just slipped out of the way of. So this is a cooldown 1. The sniper rifle says cooldown 1 on it, which means it gets placed face up over here on the side. Next turn I will get it back. The right move is a cooldown 0, which means I get it back immediately. Now, what is your card?
It's cooldown 2, so it's face down.
Got it. Okay, so now we're going to plan out for the next round. Okay, so we've placed our 2 cards again, so we're going to flip up the first one, and I have a blade which strikes in my location, but Lynn has a move right, which means she moves first, and then boom, she's going to get hit by my blade. Now that means that Lynn will have to immediately play one of her teleport cards to get out of the way of the strike. Now this card will then be discarded from the game permanently.
I'm going to teleport to the hotel.
Okay, so this is now gone from the game. We'll remove it. Now we're going to play our second cards. I played pistol.
I played pistol.
We're both getting struck because pistol strikes 1 spot away, so we are shooting each other. We're both going to need to teleport immediately. So there's a lot of action in this round. Okay, so we've got our teleport cards ready. We're going to reveal them. I am teleporting to the factory.
I'm teleporting to the plant.
Okay, so now we have teleported away. These cards, though, get removed from the game, which is now public knowledge. Lynn can no longer teleport either to the hotel or the plant, and I can no longer teleport to the factory. Both of the weapon cards I played, though they were very useful, have a cooldown of 1, so they're going to have to wait a turn to come back, though I will get my sniper rifle back. And now here's where the really large amount of planning and figuring out what your opponent can and can't do comes in, because Lynn knows I can't play a pistol and I can't play a blade, which means I cannot strike in the location I'm in or adjacent, which means I have to try to be as far away from her as possible. Whereas Lynn still has her blade. She does not have her pistol right now, but she does have her blade and she does have her sniper rifle. Alright, so now we will find out if Lynn has successfully outwitted me and managed to strike me while I am weak and missing 2 of my weapons. We'll flip over our first card. I have a teleport to the boardwalk, while Lynn has a move 1 to the right. Oh, this is interesting. What is your second one? I have... so I successfully outwitted her, and I hit her with the rifle, so she will need to lose another one of her teleport cards to immediately...
Yeah, teleport to the boardwalk.
Get out of the way of the sniper rifle. Now, my boardwalk card, having played it as a normal card, has 2 cooldowns, so we'll go face down over here. It becomes face up on the next turn. My rifle goes face up over here because it has a cooldown of 1, and I will get back both of my weapons from last turn. Well, Lynn will get back her pistol and her cooldown 2 bola that she threw there, and her blade goes face up to the side because it also had a cooldown of 1. And that is how you play a game of Slip Strike. You move around, you try to outwit your opponent, you try to use deduction when you're figuring out what your opponent no longer has in their hand, where you think they'll go, so you can see if you can outwit them. It does feel like a direct battle of wits. Try to outwit them. To move to a place where you can strike them, but they can't strike you. You play until there comes an occasion where one of you goes to strike the other and they are out of teleport cards, at which point they lose the game. If you cannot teleport away from the strike, you are done. And then the other player wins the game of Slip Strike. So let's head back. We're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels and who we would recommend to back the Kickstarter. Okay, so there you have it. So that was how you play a game of Slip Strike. Those were some action-packed turns, actually, so give you a good feeling of what can happen. It was interesting, because the first one had nothing happen. We slipped out. And then there was, like, a lot of craziness all at once. Lots of damage. What's interesting about this game is it's all about figuring out getting inside your opponent's mind. Like, you have to anticipate, where are they going to want to go? Okay, they don't have close-up weapons anymore, so they're going to want to be far away from me. So does that mean they're going to try to get far away from where I am now? Or are they going to anticipate that and do reverse psychology and try to go right to where I am, thinking I'm going to go to the opposite side of the board. And you kind of got to get inside your opponent's head and figure out what they're going to do. I mean, this all happens very quickly in the game, but that's really what you're doing. You're like, are they going to go here to the factory, or are they going to go all the way to the other side to the boardwalk? And I think that's one of the most interesting parts of the game is the trying to kind of get inside your opponent's head and anticipate their moves so you can be in the right place to hit them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure if I've ever really played a game similar to this, but to me, it feels almost like an abstract strategy game.
There is some elements of so it's weird. It's like there's a lot of elements in here of a lot of different games I've played. Like there's programming, and we've played programming games. You're a big fan of some programming games. But it doesn't play like those programming games at all. And then you're right, there's elements of an abstract. But it doesn't play like any abstract.
Yeah, but it's a card game, and usually, I mean, I can't think of any abstract strategy card game. It's usually like a board with little pieces, and it looks all ancient,
Yeah, and then at the same time, there's some hand management. It kind of plays like a take that card game, but again, not like any other take that card game. And it kind of plays also with a little bit of bluffing. Because there's that little bit of bluffing of am I going to go here or am I going to go there?
Well, I don't think there's really any bluffing. You're not
Well, it doesn't say you can't table talk. You could totally... We haven't been doing that, but you could totally table talk with this. You could do bluffing. If you wanted to, you could be like, oh, what do you think? Should I go to the boardwalk? Boardwalk, putting boardwalk in your head. And, I mean, so it's got all these elements, but it uses them. And again, these are all elements you've seen in other games, but it uses them in a rather unique way. And I think that's...
And it doesn't feel like it's just cobbled together and doesn't mesh well. It's strange. It works well together, and you don't quite know why.
So it's all right. I would say, I think you can tell we're being positive. I would say that I think David has come up with a very interesting design here. He's taken a lot of stuff that as a gamer, elements from other games that you're like, okay, I know programming, I know take that card games, I know dueling card games, I know abstract games, I know bluffing games, but he took them and he put them in this new combination where you're like, oh, but I've never seen them used that way before. And that's, I think, the biggest strength of this game is how it uses these elements in very new ways. I would say the second biggest strength would be how quick it is to teach, learn, and just play.
Well, I think that's part of why it felt sort of like an abstract to me, because abstracts usually only have a couple rules, and you can sit down in 2 or 3 minutes and play. You might suck at it,
right,
but you can play.
But it also does feel like an abstract representation of these two future assassins teleporting around and using their guns and their knives to try to attack each other, because it's all handled in a very abstract manner. So I was kind of thinking you meant like that, because I was feeling that too, actually. But yeah, this is a really interesting, cool little game. I would say, one, people we would recommend this to. Why don't you go first? Who would you throw out a group? We'll go back and forth. A group you would recommend to back the Kickstarter on this.
I would recommend it to someone who does like abstract strategy games, but maybe they have family or friends who are not quite into it. Because it didn't really hit me that this is an abstract until we were just doing the tutorial today, and we've obviously played it before. So it would be kind of a way to maybe ease people into abstracts.
Oh, that's interesting, because it's kind of on the periphery of abstracts. I get that. I was going to say, now my first group I'm going to recommend this to is couples. Because, so if you and your significant other, or you and your best friends, when I say couples, I don't necessarily mean romantic couples, but you and one other person hang out a lot and like playing light, fast dueling games, this is a very unique dueling game that you could add to your collection that also, in my opinion, makes a really good pub or coffee house game, because it's small, it's compact, it doesn't take up a lot of space, you can bring it with you while you're having a couple cups of coffee or a couple of beers. And I think that would be great. So for when you and one other person like to have a lot of light games that you play really quick, like 15 minutes or less, and just move on to another game, this is a game that you should back. How about you? Do you have any other groups you want to recommend this to?
Did they give an age range for this?
I don't think they have one yet. But I would say the rules are simple enough that it could go pretty low.
And the cards, the asset cards, where you only get one of them and it's like random.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a few different of them, and I've never had to clarify what they mean. They're very clearly written.
It is. It's.
So I don't know.
And it's all the rules are right there on the card, which I like.
So I don't know. I would even say like a parent playing with a kid.
Sure. Yeah. So, all right, so...
Maybe even two kids, siblings?
So the biggest limits on this, I would say, is if you never have, for some reason, when you're gaming, never have two people to play with, it might not be for you. Because you need to be able to just have you and one other person, because this is really just a two-player game. Now, they do have, however, that being said, if you're really interested in this, they do have an alternate way to play. There's apparently going to be a blue/orange edition of the game with, I guess, must be a different color blue, where if you get both editions, you'll be able to play 4 players. So I guess that would solve that. If you do not usually have only 2 people to play, you could buy both editions and play this 4 players. But I mean, this really feels to me like I like it at 2 players. Like I was trying to figure out, I think it'd be more crazy and more random at higher player counts.
It says it's 2 versus 2 when your teams.
Yeah, but the people would be all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think it would still be a little crazier.
I would think you would be able to confer with your teammate.
Probably. Well, I haven't fully read the rules on the 2 versus 2 because we didn't have the 2 sets.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, it might be interesting. I can't really judge that version based on what I have here. All right, so bottom line. If you have occasions where you like to play with you and one other person, maybe you and a best friend, you and a significant other, or even you and someone else while you're waiting for everyone else to show up on a game night and you're just looking to play some quick, light games while you're waiting for everyone else to show up. If any of those apply to you, if you go to the pub or coffee house to play games and you think anything we showed you in this game sounds interesting, then I think it's worthwhile for you to back the Kickstarter. I mean, this is cool. This is a cool, unique little game. It's really different, and I like that. And that is definitely its biggest strength in a current game market where so many games, when someone asks, "Oh, what's that like?" and people say, "Oh, it's like this game but with mechanics from that game," and yada yada yada. It's hard to compare this to other games. It's pretty unique. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking about something else, and no, I don't remember.
But you would recommend it to someone for if they liked any of the stuff we talked about.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
While you were talking, I was repeating it so I didn't forget.
And then you forgot.
And I forgot anyway.
Don't forget it again. What are you going to say?
I was going to say that the setup and tear down is, I mean, you literally just put 5 cards in a circle and that's it. So when you were saying that it's good for waiting for people to show up for game night, it doesn't even matter that you're in the middle of a game. I mean, you could technically finish it if you wanted to, but if people show up, just grab all the cards and it's cleared and you can do other things. It
is yes. In addition to being very fast to play, it is very fast to set up and break down. You throw out the cards. You don't even shuffle your own deck because you have the whole thing as a hand. The only thing you shuffle is the asset cards to give each player a random asset. That's it.
And you have to shuffle the location.
Oh, you do shuffle, but that's 5. That's 5 cards. Mix up 5 cards and throw them out. So yeah, it's very well in the final game. It'll be 5 tiles.
Yeah.
But it is very fast to set up and break down. So yeah, I guess we can say that we can comfortably recommend this game to you if anything we've talked about sounds interesting, and if you fit into any of those categories we would recommend you to. Definitely we would recommend you to back this Kickstarter, right? Mm-hmm. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this preview and tutorial and you'd like to see us do more preview and tutorial videos like this, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And hit that little bell icon on my channel so you get alerts and updates every time I upload a new video. And until next time, game on.